Okay? All right. So this is Lynn. I'm going to leave you in her capable hands. Great information about nutrition labels, and then some of the maybe not so good diets, and then if you want to ask her questions of why she thinks they're not so good. But then she also has like the top 5 diets that we recognize as the top 5 diets. There's lots of them out there, but she's going to go over just a few. All right,
Thanks,
I'm going
Kathy.
to sneak out.
Okay, so we'll just to give you some advice or some help if you're interested in doing this weight loss challenge. How many of you count calories? Anybody?
I have.
Do you have any idea how many calories you eat in a day?
That's why I don't count them. I have a tracker.
Yeah, okay, so here's just a good rule of thumb. Take your current weight in pounds and multiply by 10, okay? That's roughly how many calories you need to stick to, along with, I'd say moderate exercise, maybe 20 minutes of exercise 3 to 4 times a week. And by that I mean a brisk walk, or, you know, if you all have active jobs, you're active during the day, you don't sit behind a desk, that's a real challenge if you sit all day. But, so, current weight times 10, okay? And believe it or not, for, you know, some people say there is no way I eat that many calories. But I'm gonna show you, we're gonna talk about calories and label rating, and I can guarantee you that you probably do.
So that's to maintain your
No,
weight.
that's to lose.
Oh.
Okay? So current weight times 10 with moderate exercise, and that's a good ballpark. If you stick to it, now you have to watch your calories, right? So that means that you have to start reading food labels. You have to start looking at the calories that are in the foods and the drinks that you consume every day.
So let me just interject real quick, is because I think what you're thinking is, wow, that's a lot of calories right now, right? This isn't going to be for fast weight loss.
No.
This is going to be for very slow,
No.
moderate weight
Yeah.
loss, right? So if someone tells you a lot of nutritional or a lot of diet plans will say 1,800 or less calories or 1,500 or less calories, that's for dramatic weight loss.
No. And
Right?
yet, and
what she's talking about is going to be a very moderate decrease in your, if you stick to it.
so, thanks. So, yeah, so we don't want rapid weight loss. We don't want anything beyond maybe 2 to 4 pounds a week. Because in order to lose 1 pound of fat, 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So that's how many calories you would have to trim from your diet every week. So about 700 or 500 calories a day, right? And if you go beyond the 2 to 4 pounds a week, it's impossible. You can't exist on really extremely low calorie diets for very long. Actually, the body has this built-in anti-starvation mechanism. So if you say, well, I'm just gonna be a couch potato and I'm not gonna eat anything, your body actually adjusts, your metabolism will actually adjust to whatever calorie level you give it. So the idea is you want to rev up your metabolism by increasing your activity level. And I'm just talking about steps, okay? I see most of you have a smartphone. Does anybody track how many steps they take? You do too? Okay. So if you have your phone on and in your pocket, you can download free step trackers. 10,000 steps is 5 miles. And that's what the American Heart Association says we should shoot for every day. Okay, and you'd be surprised. Are you surprised when you track your steps, when you look at night, when you look and see how far you've gone? Does it surprise you how many steps you take?
Well, actually, I only track it when I'm walking and running.
Oh, okay.
But because I don't have my phone at work, I mean, you know, it's sitting down, so I can't really track. So,
yeah. Well, so as long as it's in your pocket and it's on silent, it works. Or like if you have a Fitbit or
Yeah.
a watch or something like that, you know, helps track your steps. What we want to shoot for is 10,000 steps a day. That's 5 miles. So every day, we want you to challenge yourself just to take a few more steps every day. So, but you'll be surprised at how many, you know, how much activity you really get. And that's what we mean by, you know, gradual of stepping up the activity, gradual weight loss, because those are the pounds that you're likely to keep off, is the pounds that you lose gradually. I'm not going to talk about meal plans or diets. Diet really implies temporary, and that's not what we're after. We're after lifestyle change. We want you to, you know, try and do things here and there that you can sustain, and not do this rapid crash diet weight loss thing, because those aren't the pounds that you're likely to keep off. Okay? How many people do you know that have lost a bunch of weight and it comes right back on? Okay? It has a lot to do with your portion size, how many calories you're eating, and the Food and Drug Administration and the USDA is trying to make it easier for us as consumers to try and understand where the calories are hiding in our food items. So they have completely revised the food labeling system, and I did bring some snacks. I want you to, and actually generous, there's a lot in here. I have popcorn, I have unsweetened applesauce, I have Doritos, I have potato chips, pretzels. Just grab some snacks and pass the bag around. And what I want you to do is, I want you to look at the label. Yeah. Okay. So the food labels, the nutrition labels have been on every food item that you pick up in the grocery store for a long, long time. Okay. The current label is on the left-hand side of your handout. The new labels, the new nutrition facts labels, need to appear on food items. The manufacturers need to put them on the food items by 2020. Okay? So the difference is that the current label does not really have, did you need something? Oh, the current label does not have does not focus really on the information that the consumer really needs to have. Calories and servings were very confusing with the old label. Some of the snacks that I'm passing around have the old label and some have the new label. So if you look at the number of servings per container, this is really important because in a lot of cases, with the old label, the label would actually say that there were 2 servings per container, but then list the number of calories per serving. So if you eat the whole container, you have to multiply the calories times the number of servings. See what I mean? So they tried to make it a little bit more in tune with what we actually eat. A good example is ice cream, okay? They took a standard half-cup serving with the old label. This is a cup, okay? On the old label, ice cream was broken into just a half a cup of serving, which for me is a plate, okay? That's not what people usually eat, right?
That's a whole carton.
If I could too. If you fit, right. So if you fill a bowl of ice cream, you have to measure, you have to keep in mind the half-cup serving, right? And you have to multiply by how many. And it's a lot of calories, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So the new label on ice cream actually is for a 1-cup serving, which is more like what people usually eat. It's like a large scoop, maybe, of ice cream at like Baskin-Robbins or something, is 1 cup, okay? So, question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What determines the serving size?
There's the U.S. Department of Agriculture has standard serving sizes. And they went through this exercise back in 2017 to revise the food labeling. And they tried to make it so that the servings were more in tune to what we ate. Because manufacturers were, I don't want to say they were trying to hoodwink us, but they were trying to hoodwink us. Like they would say a standard serving of peanut butter was a teaspoon. And if you can visualize what a teaspoon is, most of us, when we put peanut butter on our toast or we make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, we use a heck of a lot more than a teaspoon, right? So they tried to standardize the portions in tune to what people typically eat. And so they came out with these guidelines, and the new labels that will be appearing on foods by 2020 is, the food labels are to the right. That's the new label. So the number of servings per container and the serving size declaration have increased and are now in larger or bolder type. Sorry, guys. And again, serving sizes have been updated so that they reflect what people actually eat and drink. So, as I said, the serving size for ice cream was previously a half a cup and is now, actually, it's going to be 2/3 of a cup, not a cup, I apologize. Calories is now larger and bolder. And I think you can see it on your snacks in most cases. So, and for these single serve packages, they've the new calories reflect eating a whole package, because most of us do when we have serving packages like this. I want to pass this around. If someone's brave enough to eat it, they can. But I want to show you how we're hoodwinked. This candy bar, right? I want you to look at the nutrition facts label on the candy bar, and I want everybody just to be aware that that candy bar actually has 2 servings. Okay, each serving is 230 calories. So if you eat that whole package, which who doesn't? When you buy a candy bar, you eat the whole thing, right? So you're actually eating 460 calories, not 230 calories, because there are 2 bars in there, right? So this is like, you have to kind of, I just want to demystify the label a little bit so that everybody understands that everybody here can probably pick out what foods you should choose more often and what foods you should choose less often, right? The key is really in the how much department. Okay, so we can usually identify what's good for us and maybe what we should choose less often. And a lot of the diet plans that we're going to talk about in a minute, like the Jenny Craig and the Nutrisystem, you buy the food from those places. And what you're buying is, what you're paying for is for somebody to pre-portion your meals, okay? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If that works for people, that's fine. There are some tricks that you can, come on in. I've got snacks.
Can I park it over here? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. So there are a couple of things that you can do to help yourself. For instance, look at the size of your dinner plate at home. If your dinner plate is huge and you fill it every night, consider using a smaller plate. Okay, that'll automatically shrink the portions. He's shaking his head out. Yeah, and another thing that I recommend is that you not eat family style. Do not have serving dishes on your table. It'll give you time to assess whether you really want to get up and walk across the room and get a second portion. Okay, and it's the how much department that we kind of all fall down. And like I said, we're bombarded with messages all the time that more is better. You know, we have the big gulp and the biggie size and the supersize it and all of that. You just have to remember your weight times 10, right? And that's how many calories you have to spend. And you decide how you want to spend them, okay? If you want to spend them on a tray of brownies, well, that's your choice, and you know, you're probably going to suffer some consequences for that. But for me, unless it's a really good glass of wine, I would rather not drink my calories. I would rather not. I would rather eat my calories, right? So I'm going to choose beverages that are water, sparkling water, seltzer, whatever, low calorie, unsweetened tea. Instead of buying sweet tea, get tea that's unsweetened and add the sugar yourself. So that, and I did say sugar. Sugar is okay, but if you buy sweet tea in a 32-ounce size, you're probably drinking 700 calories, okay? So weigh that against how many calories you actually have to spend every day. So this is a, you know, it's a balancing act, and it's a sort of like you can think of your calories as a checkbook. You know, if you withdraw your account on a daily basis, you're going to get into trouble at some point, okay? So you just need to use the information that's on the food packaging to make good choices for yourself, okay? So looking at your packages, I also want to point out an interesting thing. One thing that they are doing now with the new label that they didn't on the old label is they're reporting added sugars, okay? Because it used to be that they would just say sugars, and that was, you know, everything without regard to whether it was naturally occurring sugar in the food item or whether it was sugar that was added by the manufacturer. Now the manufacturers have to identify how many grams or how much sugar they're actually adding to a food product. And that's important because food manufacturers add sugar and fat to their food items to make them taste good to you, right? If you buy and you can spend hours in the grocery store, and some grocery stores have dietitians that do supermarket chores and help you navigate through the jungle of the grocery store. But if you compare some food items, a lower fat version of a food item might actually have more calories than a regular, which you think to yourself, well, how could that be? If they're taking out the fat, which is usually where a lot of the flavor is, a lot of times they're adding sugar to make the food taste more appealing, okay? So you have to look at the label and not look at the claims that are on a package regarding things like fat and calories, because they'll figure out a way to kind of try to lure you into making a purchase. So added sugars is something that is it's important, and it's especially important to folks who have diabetes, especially who control their blood sugar with insulin. So added sugars is really an important new addition to the new label. With regard to the nutrients, over to the right, item number 5, the list of required nutrients is changing just a little bit. Vitamin D and potassium are now required because we as Americans often don't get the required amounts of things like that. Especially if you have a job where, like a lot of you are out in the heat and you're losing a lot of fluid through sweat, and you're losing a lot of your sodium and potassium, or you may be on blood pressure medication that's potassium wasting, where you're getting rid of potassium, so you have to know what foods are good and what are good sources of potassium to try and put that potassium back. Sodium and potassium work hand in hand to regulate the beating of your heart. So extremely low potassium or extremely high potassium can have bad effects. So vitamin D and potassium are now required. Vitamins A and C are no longer required to be put on the label because deficiencies of vitamins A and C are very rare, okay? So the actual amount in milligrams or micrograms is, in addition to the percent daily value, is also listed for vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. So, again, the average or the way that the daily values are computed is for a 2,000 calorie diet. So if you are vastly, if you're vastly higher, or you should be taking in vastly higher than 2,000 calories or vastly lower, your numbers will change a little bit. But 2,000 calories is a pretty ballpark where, you know, I forget what the percentage of Americans, 2,000 calories is roughly about the norm, okay? So, so what do you think of your snacks? Does it surprise you at all how many calories are in some of the snack packages that you have in front of you? Were you aware of the number of, so unsweetened applesauce is like, what does it say, about 40 calories? Yeah, so it's like eating a piece of fruit. So you can flip off the top. I mean, a lot of people get those for their kids, but I take them with me. You know, I'm a classic. I eat while I'm on my other job has me on the road all the time, and so I have things like that. I just flip off the top and I squeeze it. Yogurt, there's yogurt also. I try not to get it all over me when I'm driving, but the unsweetened applesauce, there's also a sweetened variety, of course, which comes at a higher calorie cost. So, so it's just important to note, you know, keeping in the back of your mind how many calories you should be sticking to, and then using these food items that you get in the grocery store and trying to make sure that you're not going overboard with your calories. One thing that I'll also mention, I don't know if you track your intake or if you use an app to do that, but there's a really good one that's free, and it is produced by Under Armour. It's called MyFitnessPal.
I have that.
Do you? Good. So you can actually input. It has a lot of convenience items, a lot of fast food, a lot of restaurant food and things like that. So you can actually put it in, and you can kind of get an idea of what you're eating in a day, what you're consuming in a day. Again, if you're drinking your calories, you need to just keep in mind that a 12-ounce soda is about 160 calories. 12 ounces, right? So, there are all kinds of tricks that you can do to try and wean yourself from that. Use it as a bonus for maybe if you hit your steps and you want to reward yourself, have a regular soda. But truthfully, for some people, if they can just cut out the number of calories that they drink, they usually can lick a weight loss issue, or a weight gain issue. So keep that in mind. There's plenty of snacks in the bag, by the way, if you want more snacks. Does anybody have any questions about the label or label reading? I know the Food and Drug Administration and USDA are also onboarding new technology. Every food item by, and I don't see any on here, every food item by 2020 is, do you know what a QR code is? Okay, it's like a a barcode that you scan, and so every individual package in the future, beyond 2020, because they're addressing the food labeling issue first, every food item is going to have a QR code. Given that most people have smartphones these days, you can download a QR code reader and you can snap a picture of the QR code and it'll bring all of the nutrition information on your phone, and it can upload to an app that you might be using to track your intake. So that's what's coming on board. And there's also, they're also partnering with Google and Amazon, the Alexa for, it's called Voice Diab or something like that. It's for folks who have diabetes. You can ask Alexa about diabetes related concerns. So